I feel pained that Nigerians are not seeing the dangers that are ahead, particularly when it concerns the budget that Tinubu just signed into law. It pains me to my core. I feel pained. I don't know about you. I feel pained that it's like Tinubu is getting away with it or has gotten away with it. Yes, he has gotten away with the elections, but when it comes to providing criticisms, to exposing the lies in the Tinubu administration, I feel pained because it appears as though it's either Nigerians are not interested or that they fail to see the dangers that are inherent in this Tinubu administration. He's getting away with it. But we will not stop because the whole idea is to frustrate us, to make us feel like we're frustrated, and then we'll stop talking. I won't stop. I'll keep doing it until maybe someday somebody will pay attention. Look at the bill, the 2024 budget that was signed into law. It's called the Appropriation Act. If you look at that bill, many people are hailing that bill. But if you look at it in details, you will feel the pain that I feel. And you will wonder why Nigerians seem to be so oblivious of the dangers that are ahead. If only Nigerians saw the dangers, they will be afraid, and probably that fear will push them to do the right thing. Look, there is a lot to be concerned about, particularly when you take deeper look into the Tinubu's 2024 budget. They call it a budget of renewed hope, but it's actually nothing more than a budget of renewed wasteful consumption. Wasteful. Because if you look at the budget, yes, we have a breakdown. Recurrent debt, 9 trillion. Debt servicing, 8 trillion. Capital expenditure, 7 trillion or 8 trillion. All right? All of the spendings, if you look at the capital expenditure, of the 7.72 trillion that was budgeted for capital expenditure, guess what the capital expenditure is? Almost 2 trillion of that 7.7 trillion for capital expenditure goes for cars. Cars. You find out that out of the 1.5, 1.6 trillion that is budgeted for Ministry of Defense, only 100 billion out of it is actually budgeted for buying ammunitions. Only 100 billion. The remaining 1.5 trillion goes for paying personnel. And you say it is a budget of hope? No, it's a budget of consumption. Because even within that defense budget, if you look at DICON, which is the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria, DICON is supposed to be a company that manufactures weapons. Guess what their budget is? They have a budget of 30 million to buy weapons, to buy materials to build, is it 300 million? To buy weapons and materials to build bullets. And that's even just a small portion of the bullet, 300 million. Meanwhile, 100 billion is scheduled and budgeted for the Ministry of Defense to buy ammunitions, arms and ammunitions, 100 billion. Now you see that this budget is a budget of buying, a budget of buying, a budget of buying. Almost 2 trillion out of 7 trillion capital expenditure goes to buy cars. And the cars are what? Guess what? Made in Japan. No wonder the Japanese, they must really love Nigeria. They not love, they must really be laughing at Nigeria. Because they must be thinking in their mind that how stupid can Nigerians be? That 2 trillion naira, do you know, and let's not forget that 2 trillion is just money that the federal government is spending. We're not adding the amount that the state government, the local government will also spend on buying cars. And those cars are coming from Japan, they're coming from US. So those run into trillions. A deeper look at this budget should give cause for alarm to every Nigerian. I am scared. Many people have said so many things about this budget, about it being a budget of chaos, uncertainty and unemployment. I agree with that narrative. Even though Tinubu, I must give it to him though, understands the Nigerian people. He knows how to get his people in strategic positions in the media to sing his praises about how this is a budget that is like no other. It is the best so far. Yes, it may appear to be like that on the surface, but a deeper look reveals how it is actually nothing more than a budget of wasteful consumption. And consumption is the bane of Nigeria as it is today. But it is not all gloom. All of these things are designed to make us frustrated and to make us throw our hands in the air and give up and say, oh, if you cannot beat them, join them. No. That may be the first call for many people, but I feel that as Nigerians, we should not just let evil win. Evil will only triumph in a society like Nigeria when good people keep quiet and they don't talk. And with the way these people have designed it, the way Tinubu is running his government, he's doing it in such a way that those people who have good intentions will be frustrated and they will give up, and what they will be thinking about is, we cannot beat them, or let's join them. But you see, the problem with that is that the money they are stealing cannot go round. They don't want it to go round. It's the money for all Nigerians, but they don't want it to go round. So it is incumbent on us. We must take it up as a duty to say that, look, we will not allow the evil in the society to win. If not anything, by speaking up. And I say that despite the fact that the budget is a budget of wasteful consumption, which portends only bleak future for Nigerians in 2024, there's still hope. We should not complain and complain and complain and leave it at that, just complaining, which is what they seem to want us to do. We just complain. Because with Nigerians, it's like they'll do one thing, we'll complain, then we'll keep quiet. They'll do another thing, we'll complain, and like that, and like that, and like that. But no. Number one, we should not give up. Number two, even when we do speak up, we should not just complain without solutions. Number three, we must discuss the solution. How do we survive Tinubu? This is 2024 budget of wasteful consumption. How do we survive it? I'm talking about the interest of the average Nigerian out there. Now, how? The only way to save Nigeria right now is for us to begin to take the power from these corrupt politicians and give the power back to the people. How do we do that? So long as the poor Nigerian is hungry, and when he is hungry, the only thought that comes to his head about where to get food is going to beg corrupt politicians and hoping that these corrupt politicians will have favor on him. Because number one, there's no guarantee that these corrupt politicians will actually help him with food, or that he will even have access to the corrupt politician. No guarantees. So long as we have a situation like this where the average Nigerian would depend on corrupt politicians for food, the corrupt politicians will continue to weaponize that poverty against the general masses of Nigeria. This is why it appears as if it's too difficult for people to rise up and organize and speak up against truth. People cannot even speak truth to power anymore because they are afraid that their sources of income will be touched. So the only way to solve it is to take the power away from this corrupt politician. In America, it is the government, it is the state that takes care of the extremely poor. You give birth to a child in America, that child receives benefit until he is 18. If you are unemployed, you get unemployment benefit. If you are extremely poor, you have the Supplementary Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP, that gives you free food, access to food. There are food banks everywhere, guaranteed and backed by law. Until we do that in Nigeria here, I'm telling you, the system cannot change because they will continue to weaponize poverty against the citizens of Nigeria. They will continue to weaponize it. They will continue to weaponize it. And so long as there's hunger in the land, I'm telling you that a hungry man, the sense, is almost zero. People think with their belly when they are hungry. They don't think with their brain. And so long as they are thinking with their belly, they cannot make right decisions. So for us to get people to make right decisions, to be able to rise up again, we need to guarantee food for them. Food. Whoever does not have money should be able to get a place to get food to eat without knowing anybody, without knowing any politician, you don't need destiny helper. You should not need destiny helper to eat. You should not need divine connection to have food to eat. So until we make Nigeria to be like this, where you don't need divine helper or divine connection or destiny helper, you don't need the favor or the mercy of one corrupt politician to be able to get at least food, Nigeria will not go forward. So that is why we are proposing this free food stamp and social welfare law. We must pass this law. Many people think that it's not possible to do. It is very, very possible. You see, all the solutions that Nigeria needs, these politicians have found a way to make it look impossible. So the people who should rise up for it are giving up in despair. People like you and I. Don't let anybody tell you that it cannot be done. Look, if we take 1% of the crude oil that NNPC sells, only 1%, and we take 1% of the revenue of all the revenue generating agencies, 1%, and then we set up an endowment fund where the extremely rich Nigerians will donate and contribute to that fund. And then we go ahead and put special free food taxes on luxury items. All those Lamborghinis that people are buying that people don't need. If you put tax on those ones, that tax can go into this social free food and social welfare support fund. We'll create a fund called the Social Welfare Fund, which we should have anyway. So when we have that fund, you see that by the time you get 1% here, 1% here, 1% here, immediately, the monies to carry this out, going into the trillions, will come out. And it's not just that the money will come out. The way the money will be spent in such a way that it will encourage and revolutionize agriculture. Look at Tinubu's budget of 2024. How much was given to agriculture? 300 billion or so. Now, that 300 billion, if you go to the capital expenditure there, the capital expenditure has nothing to do with creating food. It has nothing to do with growing food. 90% of the budget of Ministry of Agriculture goes to paying salary. And then the remaining portion that's supposed to be for capital expenditure, they use it to renovate buildings, they use it to buy cars, they use it to pay for internet. That's what they are doing. So there is nothing in the budget of 2024 that Tinubu just signed that guarantees any improvement in our agricultural sector in 2024. But if we implement this free food and social welfare law, the way it has been designed, it will go to supporting only those who want to engage in agriculture to produce food. And that food will be made available to people who want it, a certain percentage of it. And of course, the excess we can sell and export and get even more money. We need to do this free food and social welfare law. We need to do it. If not for anything, because of the way the budget of 2024 is. I will not get tired of saying it, and I hope that you join me. Please, let us, one here today, another one here tomorrow, there tomorrow. That's how we'll become. Now, wash hand. Now I make rise the full portal. Stop thinking that, if you are just nice enough and you lick the boot or the behind of this corrupt politician long enough, then they'll give you something. You're wasting your time. Because what is there is not enough for them already, and they want to use that money to go and buy properties abroad. They want to use it to send their children and their families abroad to school, or send themselves abroad for medical treatment, which are things that we also need to work on, to ban. We have to ban them. If we don't, the conflict of interest that is eating Nigeria will continue. This conflict of interest, though. Tell me, how do you think that a Tinubu that likes to travel abroad to UK, how do you think that he will fix the healthcare system in Nigeria to the extent that it will be accessible to everybody? People say, there's a report I heard that Lagos State is now number 8 city in Africa in terms of medical care. I just laugh. Have you attended the General Hospital in Ikeja to treat malaria? You have to book like 3 months ahead before you get a date. And that is the healthcare system that they say is 8 in Africa. I just laugh. Now, can Tinubu go to the General Hospital in Ikeja? Can any of the ministers go to the General Hospital in Ikeja or go to National Hospital? Can Tinubu go to National Hospital to be treated? Or Federal Medical Center to be treated? Until we get the medical, until we make it compulsory for political office holders to access our own public institution or even private, local here within Nigeria, until we get them to do that, our education or health will not grow. It will not. So the starting point is this free food and social welfare law. Please, don't just look and don't just complain. If you think that there's a reason why it will not work, let us know. We will look at it and